All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's video. We're going over 2025 competitive advantages that you can have when you're trying to hit your $1 million months. These make a tremendous difference into the probability going dramatically more in your favor. Of course, you have to know the probabilities are already pretty low. 0.1% of all businesses on earth ever reach the milestone of more than $10 million a year. $12 million a year if you're hitting $1 million months throughout the full fiscal year. On this channel, that's all we talk about. We help you hit $1 million months if you're one of the lucky chosen ones out there. If you're already a subscriber, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you here. If you're new to the channel, welcome in. And again, just to reiterate, all we talk about here is how to hit $1 million months. So if you get value from this video, I'd appreciate you subscribing. Without further ado, let's dive into today's topic. So 2025, we have some very distinct competitive advantages that are sometimes evergreen. There's opportunity windows that open up to capitalize on specific things that you can do. And in a few of these points I'm going to make and talk about today, there are opportunity windows that are currently open and that are closing, some of which are closing much faster than others. So I'm going to go through them one by one in detail and make sure that you're privy to each one and make sure that you exploit each one to your advantage. First one, becoming an offer owner. So I want to give a shout out real quick to one of my buddies I work with named Gabe. Gabe put me on to this term called offer owner, and I loved it so much. After you really become privy and aware to what an offer owner truly is, and you go out there and you look into the marketplace of people that are already crushing it, that own and dominate specific market sectors that they quite literally are the category kings or queens of, you can look and see clearly how distinct of a competitive advantage this truly is. I'm going to give you some specific examples so you can think with it a little bit. One of my favorite clients that I've ever worked with, he's a very charismatic character. His name's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is the Section 8 guy. If you've ever seen any of his ads out there telling you that you should get involved in Section 8 real estate investing. Tom has, I think respectfully to Tom, at least 5 Rolls Royces and probably more on the way. Who knows how many other supercars. An incredible house right up there on the coastal inlet of Miami here. And at the time I met him, it was 2021. Tom was pitching an offer to do a $500 call. It was an hour call to learn how to do this Section 8 real estate invest. Now at the time, I told Tom, I was like, hey, this makes a lot of sense for me. You know, I have $100K a month free and clear. I want to invest it. What do you think I should do? He spent the first 30 minutes of the call selling me on why it made sense to do Section 8 real estate. And I completely agreed with him. It did make a lot of sense. In my marketing agency, over the past decade, one of the most successful client types that we've had has been in information product space and category. And even more specific than that, the real estate offer. The real estate offers in the information product space have always crushed. The only people that generally suck and never make any real money in the real estate investing info product space are the wholesale guys. Those ones always suck. Anyway, I digress. I talk to Tom and I say to myself, I'm like, Tom, this makes so much sense. Do you have a course or anything that you're going to upsell me here on the call? He says no. So I say, Tom, let me spend the next 30 minutes telling you what you need to do in order to get you to $1 million a month. Now, without sitting here and talking about Tom's revenue for what he does on the course and information product side of his business, just with his actual Section 8 investment portfolio alone, right now when I'm talking to you today on this video, it does more than $1 million a month with, again, just his actual real estate investment portfolio. He does quite well with his course business too, but again, I won't sit here and air out his business. He doesn't like when I do this. So I tell Tom everything he needs to do in 2021. He starts taking action on it, and I think we had this whole course done within a matter of days, and it was very comprehensive. It was very good. Put the offer together, filmed the VSLs, got the funnel created, again, got everything that was necessary to get this thing launched, created, and done. And Tom, at the time, is literally the only person talking about Section 8. Literally the only one. And he's talking about it non-fucking stop. And I literally mean non-stop. Tom goes live still today for hours every single day on TikTok, Instagram. He consistently pushes at least 3 pieces of content a day on these short form platforms like Instagram, TikTok. I'm sure he probably is, at this point, has at least rolled those over to YouTube. And if not, one of you guys needs to go pitch him. Anyway, point I'm trying to make. In a matter of weeks, no exaggeration, I won't say the amount of revenue, but Tom absolutely cleans out, okay? And he's consistently cleaned house month over month over month over month. And he consistently has talked about Section 8, so much so that Tom became an offer owner. An offer owner owns the specific category in which they teach, talk about, service, provide offers for. Again, they're an offer owner. And this is proven when literally any other person attempts to ever compete with Tom on talking about Section 8 real estate investing. I won't say who, but I'll give you 3 examples off the top of my head. There was a set of guys that have the same name that are historically Amazon sellers that had Amazon information products, and they see Tom buying like $5 million yachts, who knows how many supercars, $20+ million houses here in Miami, custom spec with insane amounts of technology integrated into the homes, and just consistently producing large sums of revenue. And so So these two guys, they try to start buying Section 8. And after buying some of these Section 8 properties, they obviously try to start talking about it and teaching about it so they could get some of that Section 8 info product money. Now, these guys, and it's hilarious to watch, they would try to go live. They would try to essentially just replicate Tom. That's what happens when you become an offer owner and really start visibly making a fuckload of money. People will naturally just try to copy what you do, okay? That's how it works. When you're an original thinker, and in this case, an offer owner, it's gonna be a fuckload of copycats start trying to chip away at your market share, okay? So anyway, I digress. These guys, any time, and I'm talking about on a piece of content, on a live stream, it's even funnier on a live stream, on any ads that they attempted to run for it, non-fucking stop. Like I'm talking like every fourth comment would be somebody just saying, oh, you're copying Tom Cruise. Oh, you're copying this guy. Like, oh, you're just trying to be like Tom. It was hilarious to watch, okay? And they stopped talking about it altogether because again, it's like so demoralizing to try to copy somebody and think you're being discreet about it. And in reality, somebody already owns that specific offer. So again, how do you become an offer owner? You have to be extremely well known. And when somebody thinks about that thing, they literally have to think like, oh, that's the person who already does that. Like that's who you really want to learn from. That's the person you're trying to copy. You see what I'm saying? It's already something that the general public that you're attempting to sell to or that other people might attempt to sell to are just thinking to themselves, oh, well, no, that's the offer owner of this. Like you'd want to go and learn from that guy. There's another great example. These people actually live, I'm pretty sure either a few floors below me or in one of the smaller units over here. There are these two brothers. And again, these are small fries in comparison to big dogs like Tom Cruise or even big dogs like the two guys with the same name that were pitching Amazon I was just talking about. These guys live a few floors down. And again, like respectfully to these guys, like not to say they don't invest in Section 8, not to say they don't have the capacity to actually help people. But again, it's like they're trying to talk about and all they're trying to replicate is Tom Cruise's business model. And same exact scenario. They go live, they post content about it, they try to pitch a course, and every couple comments, it's just somebody sitting there like, dude, and it's not the same person either. It's a bunch of random people that are just like, oh, you're just trying to copy Tom Cruise. Like, why? And it's like the main objection that guys like this get. Why wouldn't I just learn from Tom Cruise? He makes $1 million a month with his Section 8 portfolio. These guys down here are saying, oh, I make like $30,000 something a month with their Section 8 portfolio. You get what I mean? Like, dude, when you're an offer owner, the point I'm attempting to make in this video is like, dude, you have the higher probability to maintain and continue dominating and having the highest probability to hit $1 million months versus the other people, like the small fries in that example I just provided. It's like, yeah, I mean, they could be chipping away like tens of thousands of dollars a month. I mean, hey, maybe even if they continue and they scale it up a little greater than they are now, maybe they could get to a couple $100,000 a month. But here's the best part about being an offer owner is if and when somebody else out there starts talking about what you already own as an offer, they are actually creating additional customers for somebody like Tom in this example. So let's say that person down there who's actively pitching and promoting Section 8 all the time, but doing it at a small fry level, not an offer owner level, is actively taking somebody who doesn't know about Section 8 and introducing them to the topic. Well, what would somebody most logically do if they become aware of something they previously weren't aware of? They're gonna go look it up and research it. So if that person, and you could do it too right now if you wanted to, go open up TikTok or go open up Instagram and literally just type in Section 8, and I guarantee you will see a majority of Tom Cruise content on there. Because again, Tom Cruise is the offer owner. So even the small fries, okay, or even the guys who are already doing a couple $100,000 a month that have the same name pitching an Amazon offer, if they get people who don't know about Section 8 yet to become aware of it, and the same exact process occurs if those guys get to a couple $100,000 a month, or if the small fries get to a couple $100,000 a month, there's an even greater probability that they're actually just getting Tom Cruise even richer than he already is, because Tom is the offer owner. There was even a guy here in Miami. This guy had $100+ million. He had a yacht that I'm pretty sure is actually a little smaller than Tom, and he got so pissed, so pissed at Tom, because again, this guy, he can technically deploy more capital than what Tom has, and supposedly he did. He tried to buy over 1,000, maybe 2,000 Section 8 properties at single times, and whether successful or unsuccessful with that, he then attempted to teach Section 8 investing, and the same exact thing occurred. Every single time the guy would try to talk about it, oh, you're copying Tom Cruise, you're copying Tom, like, you see what I mean? Like, you just cannot get away from it if you attempt to compete with offer owners. And if, again, just to be extremely clear on this, if you do actually get to a market that doesn't know about it yet, you will get the offer owner richer as a result of that competitor, that smaller competitor attempting to talk about it. They'll just research it and they'll find the offer owner, you see? So again, this is the most important thing to understand about being an offer owner owner is like, it is your competitive moat. It is your advantage. It is what keeps and prevents. It's like a mini monopoly to a degree. It's like, yes, other people can exist. Yes, other people can technically chip away at market share that you might have otherwise captured yourself as a solo person pitching that offer. But in reality, as more people grow into the space and attempt to compete with you until truly differentiated themselves, which in this case is damn near impossible to do, they're just flowing more money towards the big dog, the offer owner, okay? And this happens time and time again. I could sit here and point my finger at countless examples of this, where again, in almost any given industry, when people attempt to create something, but there's already a big dog in the space, like, yeah, you know, they might be able to grow a business, but they'll never be able to grow it as big as the offer owner does. So again, being an offer owner is the greatest. This is why it's number one on the list. It is truly the greatest competitive advantage that you can have. And there's a lot of very specific tactical ways. And I go through all these in detail in my Inner Circle program, where we do twice a month one-on-one calls, weekly group calls, quarterly in-person masterminds here in Miami, Florida, and we have a group chat where we're all extremely active. There's upwards of dozens, sometimes even hundreds of messages a day in that group chat that happen. It's extremely oriented towards rich people trying to get richer. You're already doing a couple $100,000 or you meet the minimum threshold. We even have guys in there, pretty sure we're close to 10 now, that already do more than $1 million a month in the group. We'd love to have you apply. Check out the link in the description to that. In that offer, where my Inner Circle members are getting put on to the highest level game that I offer, I go through in detail all of the very specific ways of how to become an offer owner, but I'll put you on a little bit of game here on YouTube so you still get some sauce out of this video for you on this specific point. You need to leverage content distribution. So again, when you looked at Tom Cruise's example, what Tom did back in the day when he was initially establishing himself and coming up to eventually become an offer owner was just an unbearable amount of consistent content. 3 posts a day, going live for hours a day. The people who want to eventually compete with you are inherently lazy copycats. That's all they are in actuality. Somebody like Tom rarely comes along and just outcompetes the pure will, determination, and desire of every other person who could ever talk about it, teach it, etc. Or in some instances, they outspend everybody else. A good example of this is Tai Lopez in the how to start and scale marketing agency space. And I can tell you firsthand, Tai Lopez is the offer owner of that category undeniably. Tai had over 400,000 students that bought his SMMA program, which was how to start and scale a social media marketing agency. Guys like me taught in it. There were a tremendous amount of other teachers in that program as well. And then eventually, guys like me, I started my own how to start and scale a digital marketing agency course, specifically not to compete with Tai, but because I was getting a fucking unbound amount of questions on a day-over-day, week-over-week basis. And I just needed something that I could push people to that had all the answers that I was getting asked for. And again, I thought all this would have been taught in Tai's program, but there was a lot of very specific stuff I was being asked about ways that I was operating my marketing agency. So again, I put a program together on that and I started teaching and talking about it. I have 4,000 paid students that I've taught digital marketing to and that I've taught how to start and scale marketing agencies to. But again, I'm not an offer owner in any of those categories. There's already far larger companies that exist, such as Tai Lopez as an example, where when guys like me go and spend money on here's how to start and scale a marketing agency, you go look that up, you're gonna find the big dog Tai. It's not necessarily that Tai did what Tom did and created an unbound amount of content on the topic and just consistently posted it organically. Quite the opposite. Tai just had far more money than everybody else and spent, I'm not gonna say the number, okay, because Tai was a client of ours a few different times throughout the years, but specifically during this time in 2017 when he was scaling up the SMMA, he was one of our clients. And again, I'll just say this simply put. You know anything about Tai Lopez, whether you love him or hate him, he spends an absolute fuckload of money, takes tremendous risks, and is truly one of the OG marketers out there for the digital marketing world. And in that SMMA product, he outspent everybody that might have been trying to talk about or teach that specific topic. And I can't think of a single person off the top of my head or through historical research that was teaching that topic at the time or trying to scale an offer similar. It was after that, just like with Tom. Nobody's teaching or talking about Section 8 real estate. It was only after Tom that people started teaching and talking about it. So the two main ways that, again, you can reach offer owner status are through a significant level of paid spend to the masses or your specific target market, and or content distribution, but at an extremely high level of distribution, an extremely high level of consistency, where if anybody did want to compete with you, sure, I mean, they might be able to make 3 pieces of content for like a month or 2, but all they're really doing is running out of ideas and just copying things that you've already posted and promoted. So again, they'll never be looked at as an original. That's one of the coolest parts about being an offer owner. You are truly the OG, and everybody else out there knows that and respects that if you become the most known before anybody else does. And then again, anytime anybody else ever talks about it, they're gonna refer to you, okay? Huge competitive advantage. advantage. All right, let's move on to point number 2. So point number 2, and this is huge. This is one of those opportunity windows that I referred to that is actively closing to a degree. So in one of my recent videos, I talked about some 2025 restrictions that are coming, and there's full restrictions and partial restrictions. And I won't talk about them in detail here. Again, I made a full 30-minute video on it. You can go check out on the channel if you'd like. But Facebook Meta is rolling out a whole new set of restrictions for health and wellness categories, the telehealth category, and the financial services category. And that is far encompassing, much more beyond what you might think. Now, any business that has these full restrictions or even partial restrictions is going to have an inability to optimize around standard events that are considered bottom of funnel or even middle of funnel standard events, or if you have full restrictions, disabled entirely from being able to optimize around specific standard events. Now, that in itself, if you actually understand advertising, is so dramatically impactful for how fucked you'd be if you can't optimize for things like purchase, schedule, complete registration, or any other high quality standard event. Because again, the way standard events work is whoever you target in combination with whatever you're optimizing your campaign for, the standard event, it goes and finds people who are most probable to take that action that you're optimizing the campaign for. So if you have no historical data at all, okay, literally none, okay, or you have a pixel that has what we call dirty data, meaning you have a fuckload of unqualified people on the same standard event that you have qualified people on, you better pay attention to this. You, my friend, are fucked comparatively to the people who have huge competitive advantages from having a large sum of qualified people on specific standard events that they've conditioned over time for their pixel, okay? The people who do not have that have two disadvantages, one of which is the fact that you could fall under one of these restrictive categories and no longer have the ability at all to optimize around those standard events. That's a huge issue. And two is advantage targeting. So if you in any way, shape, or form advertise on Facebook or are familiar with the terms that they use, they have a few different of these advantage words like advantage audiences, advantage placements, advantage blah, blah, advantage budget, you know, all these things. Now, the point I'm trying to make, advantage audiences specifically is essentially just forcing you into broad targeting. It takes all of your targeting that you are otherwise using and it says, oh, we'll treat it as a suggestion, but in reality, we're gonna target whoever the fuck we want based on who we think is probable to convert for your offer. Now, some ad accounts, and this is most ad accounts right now while I currently make this video, this could change at any point, which is why I say it's an opportunity window that's closing. Some ad accounts are by default put into this, you can't turn it off state of doing advantage audience targeting, meaning, yeah, you're gonna be able to set up targeting, but again, you by default have advantage audience targeting turned on. That is very restrictive in what it gives you the ability to do. You lose the ability to exclude audiences. Your targeting just becomes suggestive rather than forcing it to target those specific demographics you're trying to reach. That's a huge disadvantage. If you have an account that has a restriction, meaning you have that advantage audience by default turned on, you don't even get the opportunity to run specific content advertising strategies or remarketing strategies for exploiting pocket opportunities. Because again, you're just essentially being defaulted to cold targeting and broad targeting in every instance of an ad set being set up where your targeting is done. That in itself, if you still have an account where you can target people and not have advantage audience turned on, gives you the capacity to obviously control who your ads get in front of through your targeting option. That is a tremendous competitive advantage in the sense that you can run up a significant ad budget, condition your pixel with the right qualified people for specific standard events, and meanwhile, there's going to be businesses that are attempting to compete with you that can't even target people, that are just by default 100% of the time having to exploit advantage audience targeting, okay? That fucking sucks for people that aren't in the know of how to get around that or strategies to use if you are forced into that to still get in front of qualified people and condition your pixel regardless of the circumstances. I put, and again, shameless plug, but a plug nonetheless that's very critical for you to leverage in the instance that you are not in the know or that this is kind of catching you off guard. I've been teaching my inner circle students and I've been teaching my master internet marketing students how to get around this issue regardless of whether it's forced onto your account, and obviously how to exploit the living shit out of it while it is still available to use with default targeting options instead of having to use the advantage audience in every scenario. Sorry for the plane noise, by the way. We're extremely high in the sky over here in the penthouse, and planes occasionally come by and get awfully close, sometimes uncomfortably close. I digress. Point I'm trying to make, look, twice a month one-on-one calls, weekly group calls, quarterly in-person masterminds in our group chat. And on top of that, you got the Master Internet Marketing Community, 7 weeks of extremely in-depth multi-hour live classes, both for beginners and people already spending a couple $100,000 a month. I would encourage that you get into one or the other or both. Because again, I'm putting my members in the inner circle and my students in my communities on game for exactly what to do to get around these things. What I'll sit here and tell you on YouTube, hopefully you're smart enough to figure it out on your own if you're not in one of my programs, is you must exploit that window before it completely closes and is gone. Because the businesses that have substantial sums of qualified people on specific standard events on their pixels that they can optimize for, there's not even going to be a chance to compete with businesses like that. They're going to outperform you every day of the week because their pixel will always get in front of people who have already hit the pixel. You see? So again, if you are not conditioning your pixel to be conditioned for qualified people that you actually want coming through your funnel, you're at a huge disadvantage comparatively to the people that are exploiting the living shit out of that specific point that I'm making now. Let's move on to our third point. So for this one, you have to be able to master rich person messaging and conversion mechanisms. So with this one in particular, it's important to understand one of the most common instances that I see for members who come into the inner circle that are new, they will complain about the fact they get a lot of unqualified people through their funnel. Sure, the previous point I just made, they're not necessarily exploiting that well when they first come into the program. You know, they're just letting unqualified people hit the pixel. They're not optimizing for quality standard events. In some instances, they have just horrendous practices that they're executing in their ad accounts, and they come into the program and they get put on significant amounts of game to improve. And one of the most exploitable strategies that makes you a tremendous amount more money and increases your probability dramatically, you hit $1 million months, is selling to rich people. So you'll take an offer that you're historically selling to, a 9 to 5 audience, or just the general public, or people that just aren't that financially qualified, and you'll adapt it. You'll start testing some adaptation strategies that change the messaging of your offer, update it in the ads, the funnels, how your salespeople are talking to the folks that come through the funnel, and you start to see tremendous differences in the amount of revenue that comes, the amount of ROAS that comes, and just, again, the overall probability is dramatically increasing that these guys hit $1 million months as a result. Because again, they're selling to a demographic that has more money on average, that's more willing to take risks, that's willing to spend more, therefore they get more pay in fulls up front. There's also higher probabilities to upsell for far greater amounts of money comparatively to what the general public will be able to stomach and pocket and spend with your business. And it becomes a strategy in itself to be capable of selling to rich people. So again, a huge competitive advantage because it creates such a dramatic difference in the amount of revenue a business can capture is having the ability to have an offer where you are specifically mastering how to communicate and how to convert rich people. Okay? Tremendous competitive advantage. Can't stress it enough. By the way, if you're unfamiliar or haven't watched these videos yet, I have an entire series on my channel dedicated on how to sell to rich people, how to create offers for rich people, and how to advertise to rich people so you can get some of that information for free rather than having to join into one of my offers. Let me do a nice little warm up with you, put you on game, make you some money without you spending money with us yet. See it as a no-brainer for the investment into whatever you want to buy from us, and then we'll make you some real money after you buy into one of those offers instead. But again, those 3 videos will put you onto a lot of game right here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. You'll get notified when videos like that come out. Let's move on to the next mechanism. So this one is a trend I've noticed. I'm 30 years old, okay? And when I first started as an advertiser, I was 19. When I tell you that not a single time have I convinced myself it's not worth adapting to some new form of technology or some new software or some new way to do something that's tech related, not once has it come across my mind that I shouldn't try to learn that, I shouldn't try to figure that out. I shouldn't try to, somehow exploit what it is that just came out. And a good example of this recently has kind of correlated into my final point, which is artificial intelligence. I mean, there is a lot of people I know that are both younger than me and older than me that are becoming grandpas. Like they are not spending the time to figure out how to exploit all these different AI opportunities that have popped up most recently. Like what I'm doing here right now is a perfect example where I throw a mic on, film for you. Yeah, I send it over to my editor team and they handle the rest. But again, like I know guys who make more money than me that don't even have the capacity to just sit down and know how to film something without like an entire video team and production staff and a tremendous cost as a result to just get like simple shit done, let alone the lack of adaptation to some of these artificial intelligence tools that are available to exploit. I myself, many of my top inner circle members, many of my top clients are all actively exploiting and using and leveraging artificial intelligence to our advantage in tremendous ways, both with publicly available softwares and with in-house customized solutions to become more effective, more efficient, get outcomes faster, and just overall speed everything up. And what I've noticed, at first, I didn't really quantify this. I just kind of thought, well, this is really cool to see that we're getting work done faster. It's really cool to see that, I feel like we're speeding up progress and therefore advancing the business quicker than what we otherwise would have if we didn't have these tools and softwares available to us. But over time, the biggest thing I've noticed on this with this, like, don't become a grandpa rule and exploiting AI for all it's worth is you look at the people who haven't exploited it and it's really starting to become obvious. There's tremendous discrepancies that are widening by the day from the businesses that have not yet adapted to these new tools and softwares. And I think what's going to happen is just because, again, consumers interact with businesses at a very high frequency in life, there's going to be a lot of consumer conditioning that occurs where the expectations of a consumer are going to go up. Just as you've seen with Uber Eats and Uber and DoorDash and like Amazon, where they can deliver things same day or within an hour or within minutes in some instances, or you can just tap a button on your phone and a guy shows up to drive you wherever you want to go. Like that initially was just perceived as cool, like an advancement in tech. But through time, when you noticed the consumer conditioning that occurred as a result of that technology being available and widely used by consumers, what you also started to notice was apps like TikTok started to become more prevalent and gain traction because they exploited the trend of what consumer behavior was conditioned to do now. Expect instantaneous results. With technology, let's use the example of Instacart if you've ever used it to grocery shop as an example, or whatever other software does something similar where you live. I can just go onto the app now and I can just immediately reorder groceries that I consistently order. I can go and get recommendations for foods, beverages, whatever sold at a grocery store item-wise that are extremely similar to things it predicts I'm probable to buy. And in all honesty, I mean, that's really augmented my grocery shopping experience. I haven't walked in a grocery store and without exaggerating, I think it's almost been 8 years or at least 7 years for sure. My point I'm trying to make though is, again, like this is a significant advantage if you sell in grocery stores and are optimizing your products around like search engine optimization for app usage. Since again, people are using apps at a higher and higher rate to buy things. TikTok coming out and creating a feed that serves you content you actually have a high probability to enjoy through the For You page. And on top of that, instantaneousness of the scroll. You look at year over year time per post, like the attentiveness per post, it continues to just get shaved down to a shorter and shorter window, all the way down to where it's at now at 1.8 seconds per post on average. It's something that takes a consumer's mindset and it looks at a business like something that's gonna ship 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks later, and they look at it and they're just like, fuck that, I might not even buy it. I'm buying this custom bracelet right now and I'm making it from scratch with a jeweler in Brazil and over in Europe, and they're doing this collab for me, and they're saying it's going to take upwards of 6 weeks. Now, again, in an age where I can do damn near everything instantaneous, a natural objection comes up, which is just like, why the hell does it take that long? I don't want to wait that long. I want it now. I want it today. It forces me to seek alternatives and options that could get it to me sooner. But in this case, I couldn't find something sooner, so I was forced to do it for the 6-week duration. Again, I just want to be clear when I say this, like if you become a grandpa and you don't leverage AI, what eventually happens to consumer behavior is they're going to not work with businesses that take too long to accomplish tasks for them. They're not going to work with businesses, and the businesses that therefore don't exploit these tech opportunities, they end up losing business as time goes on, let alone just doing things slower and more archaic. I had a business the other day for an event venue that I was booking that wanted a physical check, like a personal check. And I was like, why in the fucking world would I need to get you a check? Like, I don't even have checks. It's gonna take 2 weeks just to get a check physically mailed to me from my bank. You know what I did instead? I just went and found another fucking event venue that didn't put me through such an archaic process. Instead, that company, they allowed me to wire them money, which I could do from my banking app on my phone, and it's a deposit, which was the same thing the check was going to be used for. But again, the business that adapted to modern tech, just allowing me to do something as simple as having a different form of payment for a security deposit, got my business, and the other one lost it as a result of having archaic business practices. These things will show up in little forms like customer service, sales. I get a lot of ideas late into the night that I'd love to take action on, and I do. I hit up businesses at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 a.m., and I'm like actively trying to buy stuff or, coordinate buying something or coordinate having a service provider come to my home. And initially, like, it was funny. My fiance, she'd say things to me like, oh, why are you trying to communicate with people this late? And I'm like, I don't want to sit on this until tomorrow. I want to do it right fucking now. And I'm telling you, these businesses, they want to do the business right now too. Like, they don't want to wait until tomorrow. Like, why wait? Like, let's do it now. And a lot of these businesses that I choose to communicate with this late into the evening, they either have people, staff there and capable of talking to me, and or they're leveraging tech to get me the same exact service that a human being could provide, but done through tech instead. And that's a great example of what I'm talking about. Those businesses are capturing my business late into the night, while there's still some businesses that are hooked on this mindset of like, I'm not doing business at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 a.m. Like, get fucked, just work with me during business hours. You get what I mean? Like, you cannot become a grandpa, and you can't fall victim to this idea that you should kick back and just wait for like technology to advance to a certain point where you're like forced to adapt into it. Because again, there's already people right here, right now, like today, literally now, yesterday, that are exploiting all this tech that you've been hearing about for their own competitive advantage. And again, consumer behavior is starting to be conditioned to prefer working with businesses who do that. And your business is going to get left in the dust because you're choosing to be a little grandpa. You see what I mean? Okay, last point I'm making, and we'll wrap this up. This is a tried and true, generally always open opportunity door. But again, a lot of businesses don't exploit it. It's a good example of behavioral conditioning. Okay, let me make the point first, and then I'll emphasize what I'm going to say. So when you need to officially get to the point where you want to hit $1 million months and you want to increase the probabilities dramatically, you need top talent. You have to hire A players. You have to be spending more than what you've ever spent on payroll positions before. You have to actively attempt to recruit, train, and retain top talent and A players. Okay, if you fail to do so and you fail to adapt to having that skill set in your business, again, there's your competitors out there that could be adapting to the skill set and accomplishing it. That again, when they have a fleet of A players, you want to talk about one business A and one business B, that one has top talent and one doesn't, and you just look at that perspective alone. Nothing else I've talked about, literally just that perspective alone. One team with a bunch of A players and one team with a bunch of shit turd staff, like B and C players, or God forbid worse. A players, okay, this team right here, yeah, they might spend, call it like 10K to 20K per staff member. Whereas this guy over here, they might have 30 staff members that the guy pays like 5K a month to. Even though this person here has more staff, and therefore you might equate that to this person's going to get more done, that is never the case when it's a bunch of B and C players. B and C players create bureaucracy. They slow everything down. They prefer to go at a turtle pace. And therefore they take the culture of your business of getting shit done fast and they dramatically reduce it down to like a speed right above idle, which is, yeah, we're slowly pacing, but in this story, where it's the tortoise and the hare actually wins because they don't stop and take a fucking nap, because they're not rabbits, they're stallions. They are the most powerful animal on earth against a little fucking team of turtles. Okay? And when you have a fleet, not like a single one, but a fleet of A players, they actively do things for the business that improve it and make it more money without you even having to tell them to do it. You just say, here's the direction we're going, let's ride. And they take action. They take consistent action. They take actions that, again, you don't directly tell them to do, but make you more money as a result. And this is what you have to understand about it. The businesses that hire the A players always fucking win. Every single time. The businesses with the B and C players always fucking lose. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the video. $25 million a month competitive advantages. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And yeah, see you in the next video. Go get richer in the meantime.